Hello friends, it's me again, Vitaly Tkachenko from the School of Creativity. We will be continuing to write on marine themes. The series on marine themes is not over yet. This means that today we have a style, similar to that of Naivzovsky. Such a marine morning, calm, a very, very tranquil state of the weather, a beautiful morning with lovely pastel tones. Well, I will have oil. I love to paint with oil in the sea, in landscapes. But if you feel, you can write completely casually and calmly with acrylic or gouache. To paint with gouache or acrylic, you will need paper or cardboard, but you can also paint on canvas. If you are going to paint with oil, you definitely need a prime canvas, but you can even prime cardboard, just not on paper. So let's go through the materials. I will have brushes, as usual, with bristles. Of different sizes, such, about this size approximately, mostly flat. To start, I use bristle brushes for the underpainting, and then I add brushes of this kind during the process. These are flat synthetic brushes. You can also have a couple of them and 2 or 3 smaller ones. A size 1, 0, and 3 are also very good. And additionally, I always keep a fan brush at the sea. This kind of set, plus or minus, you can certainly discard some brushes, but generally, you should focus on this type of brushes. I would highlight these as probably the most essential ones from this set. You can roughly orient yourself by placing the napkins next to them. Don't forget that the bigger, the better, so that the brushes are always kept clean. I will be diluting with artistic linseed oil. I have this little oil dispenser. I squeezed out a bit and got the canvas dirty, but that's not a problem. It will all be painted over. I will also need a palette knife. A short one like this will do if it's a small painting, but you can use any shape. Just avoid square ones. Regarding the oil, I always squeeze out a larger set of white paint. Generally, if the painting is small, you don't need to squeeze out too much. Just add a little as the paint runs out. Usually, you squeeze it out at the edges to keep the center free. But overall, the bigger the palette, the better. It gives you more space. This is a small size. You can find a larger plastic one, but make sure it's not a bright color, so it doesn't interfere with the palette and makes it easier to mix colors. So, I have white, dark cherry, crimson, ultramarine blue, any yellow, orange, dark purple, Naples pink, turquoise, indigo, and from the browns, burnt umber. We've decided on the colors. Let's set this aside. If my comments are too fast for you, you can adjust the speed in the settings to make it a bit slower. So, I have told you about the paints and brushes, so we can start now. So this painting, if you actually noticed, is in a unified color scheme, a turquoise yellow one. Indeed, that is why, when there are such small details, like people on the shore, you can proceed in the following way. That is, we won't sketch the drawing first, but instead, we will prime the canvas. We will do this together now, and then we will start adding the objects. This is where we will begin. This is from the fact that I will take and display the color on the screen that we will mix together right now. It is a yellowish color. It is mixed quite simply. You take a larger brush. Despite the fact that mine are blue, it's just that the bristles are already dyed. It doesn't really affect the color anymore. It's just oil. It colors the bristles very well, and it's incredibly difficult to simply take it and restore it to its original new appearance. So I take the brush, wet it carefully, and mix a yellowish shade gently with precision. I take white and add a little bit of yellow, just a little yellow. It turns out quite light. Then I take a bit of turquoise, just a little. This is the shade I have. It turns out a bit brighter than what I displayed on the screen, but generally it's more or less acceptable. However, if you want to tone it down a bit, Because it's too bright for you, you can, for example, add a drop of indigo. But this should be done in very small amounts. A little bit of indigo always slightly dulls the color. Just a little. If necessary, it can be muted. The clay is yellow. A little bit of indigo, which is a beautiful shade of blue and often used in art. Just a little bit more. This is the shade of color. And I can mix a bit more of it with this shade of color. I will mix a bit more of it now. We will now paint the entire surface of our canvas together as a team. Let's take it very boldly, like this. And we cover it up. Well, here is the color I have shown you, right? Well, as for the color on the screen, it can be made a bit browner. You can add a little brown and it will look more similar. Just a touch of brown. Can slightly mute it. A little brown is also fine. But the color I have displayed on the screen is approximately in these light shades. We will mix it all together properly. This is the very initial process, and it is the most interesting in terms of being relaxed. If someone is a completely inexperienced artist, for example, if they are sitting down at the canvas for the very first time and don't really know where to start, I will explain. You should always start with the very simplest things. Experience comes gradually. And in this case, you see, it's very simple. I just take and cover the entire canvas. However, there are certain pitfalls with oil paint. It tends to mix easily, so you need to adapt to it. We take all of this and paint over it. Oil paint dries slowly. For those who don't know, it can take up to 3 weeks to dry. It happens, but if you place it somewhere warm, it will dry faster. Well, if it's, for example, left in the cold, it can dry even more. You can see that I didn't cover it very evenly. This is called an underpainting. You took this color and applied it. Now our task is to blend all these little drips. Take a larger brush, or the same one, and start smoothing everything out in one direction so that the entire canvas is, you can do it vertically like this. The main thing is that both sides of the brush glide smoothly, so that the surface is very prepared. It will be very easy and comfortable to apply subsequent shades on this base, and it will be very easy and comfortable to work with it when it is not white paint. Our eye is structured in such a way that it comfortably perceives spots, capturing the overall essence of the color plot more easily when it is on a tone that is already close in the painting. This is the color we painted. We must smooth it out, and then we can start working with it. Next, we will determine the composition. You can find any brush on your palette, and we will mark the horizon. If you look at how much the horizon occupies in this composition, you will find that it takes up 1/3. The classic approach to the horizon. So I take, here I have indigo, right? Here it is.